throughout their life. The research around this age group's development over time reveals that children who have access to high-quality early care and education, they're more likely to be ready for kindergarten. They're also ready for kindergarten, less likely to require remedial services, and more likely to graduate from high school, more likely to have higher earnings in adulthood, and less likely to become involved in the criminal justice system. With 70% of our Louisiana children entering into kindergarten behind this past school year, and with nearly a third of our children in Louisiana living in poverty, it is clear that increased access to quality early care and education will provide the support many children need in our state. But early care and education not only impacts a child's trajectory, it also impacts their parents too. 2/3 of Louisiana children under the age 5 have both or their single parent in the workforce, meaning that these children spend a significant amount of time in someone else's care. However, child care costs a family is in-state as much as in-state college tuition, which oftentimes is a family's single largest expense in their family's budget. Quality child care for children birth to age 3 can cost as much as $13,000 a year. In a statewide survey of parents and children under the age of 5, the Policy Institute found that almost 60% of parents are concerned about being able to afford childcare. And nearly 60% of those parents who have the ability to pay for childcare indicate having trouble paying for basic household expenses, such as utilities, food, and clothing. It is clear having access to affordable childcare is critical to the success of working families. Yet only 1 in 5 Louisiana families that have children in need can access publicly funded early care and education programs. And with 6,500 children currently on the wait list for child care assistance in our state, thousands of parents are unable to access affordable child care. That's 6,500 children on a wait list currently for child care assistance. When children have access to quality early care and education, they really do have better educational attainment, health and economic outcomes, as well as, which really means that the state spends less over that child's lifetime on remedial or special education, adverse health experiences, and criminal justice services. So when we have more access to investments in quality early care and education, we see less of those things. Again, less of special education needs, better health outcomes, and we have reduction in criminal justice services. So when parents have access to childcare, they're able to pursue better educational and career attainment, creating income stability for our families, and contributing back to the labor and to the broader economic development of our state. When parents are unable to access reliable childcare, it makes it extremely difficult for them to show up consistently to their job, fully focused and ready to work, or go the extra mile in school so that they can further their education and their career. According to a report done by the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, LSU, and a subsequent report with the Blanco Center at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, we know that 1 in 6 Louisiana workers with young children have had to quit their job due to childcare issues. Over 40% have missed work in the last 3 months period for the same reason, and 14% have turned down a promotion, and 10% of families refuse to go from part-time work to full-time work to be able because of childcare concerns. The employee absences and turnovers due to childcare issues that cost Louisiana companies, it costs our companies $762 million annually. And that goes on to cause a $1.3 billion loss to our state's economy, according to economists from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette's Blanco Center. And industries, quite frankly, are taking notice too. As Chris Massengill of the St. Tammany Corporation recently noted, national and site selectors and location consultants who support businesses with expansion plans have added availability and affordability of child care to really understand the criteria they use to evaluate where businesses should locate and expand across our country. They see this as a primary business issue. Let me repeat that again. They see childcare as a primary business issue and regularly reach out to economic development organizations to make sure that they understand childcare facility data and requests for information related to prospective business attraction and expansion of projects. Truly, for Louisiana to attract new businesses and jobs that they bring with them, we must invest in high-quality childcare to support the workforce of today and tomorrow. Investments in early care and education lead to a stronger workforce, better educational outcomes, and increased growth in Louisiana. Nobel laureate James Heckman has found that there's at least a 13% return on investment for every dollar that we spend in quality early care and education. I don't know anywhere else we can get that kind of money on our return on investment. No bank would give us that, but if we invest in our little people, we do see those returns. So these two generational impacts really contribute to the cost savings that yield a return on investment, leading to other Nobel Prize-winning economists to name early care and education as the best possible investment of public dollars. The best public investment of public dollars. And so during the COVID-19 pandemic, our state saw large federal investments of stabilization funds into early care and education programs. That was critically important to us being able to stabilize our economy and the industry as a whole. This was critically important as keeping centers open was the only way that parents could go to work and attempt to stabilize our economy at the time that we were all having difficult issues. We really want to understand, too, is that the Louisiana Department of Education has been recognized nationally for their efficiency in stabilizing the child care industry, which kept our economy from faltering. We were able to serve historically high amounts of children during this time, proving that our child care industry has the capacity to care for many of our in-need children. At the same time, we were serving historically high numbers of children in our child care centers. We also saw state historically low unemployment rates. So what does that tell you? If parents have access to quality early care and education, they're able to stay in the workforce. Among the many lessons that we learned from the pandemic, we saw confirmation that the child care industry absolutely is the backbone to our economy. Without it, families can't go to work or school or look for work. Over the last few years, Louisiana legislature has made historic investments in the Child Care Assistance Program in order to maintain the child care seats that would have been lost to the sunset of COVID-19 dollars. 5 years ago, our state invested no general funds into the Child Care Assistance Program that provides affordable access to families who need it most. Now we are investing $87.7 million of state funds into the Child Care Assistance Program. But quite frankly, this critical investment is at risk, though families are no less in need. The House of Representatives voted to cut $24.3 million from the Child Care Assistance Program in the state's budget, which would affect at least 2,000 children. At least 2,000 children would lose access to high-quality, affordable child care seats, and thousands of parents potentially losing their ability to work. In our most recent parent poll at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children that was conducted in the fall of 2023, many working families indicated when they do not have access to affordable child care, they have to make tough economic choices of one parent staying home because their salary wasn't enough to cover the cost of child care. As one parent said in our poll, child care costs more than my wife was making, so she quit. Employers need more Louisianians in the workforce, not less. At the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry recommended in its LA 23 strategic plan, without services for children birth to age 3, Louisiana will continue to face workforce shortages, particularly among women. And K-12 systems will continue to receive children underprepared for kindergarten. There are approximately 153,000 children in need in our state, ages birth to 3. We serve less than 20% of those children. Decreasing our state's investment is not what is best for children, our families, our businesses, or our economy. Early care and education is an investment that results in a better Louisiana for all of us. Because fundamentally we know for a stronger Louisiana, we must have successful children. Increasing investment in our comprehensive early care and education system is a powerful and cost-effective way to increase outcomes for our youngest children and their parents. This is an opportunity simply Louisiana cannot afford to ignore. We knew the needs before COVID-19. That has not shifted, and the need still remains, that we need to make sure that we are increasing investment and access to quality early care and education in our state. It is the paramount of importance when you think that we have 70% of our kindergartners entering into kindergarten behind on day 1, and we have our literacy rates that children aren't reading on grade level by 4th grade. And so it really is a cumulative effect. If we make sure our children have access to quality early care and education during the first 5 years of their life, they enter into kindergarten ready to learn, they start reading on grade level and are reading at grade level in the 4th grade, by 3rd and 4th grade. They go to middle school, they're ready to move and groove, they finish high school, they're getting their high school diploma, they're either ready to go on to secondary education or get some type of industry-based credential to be a productive citizen in our workforce. We know in order to go far, we have to go together, and that means that we have to go far together for the Louisiana children and families in our care. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
In the last month or so, we done had people from DCF and everybody comes in. That's been a problem. How do y'all work with them as a state agency right now? Y'all get involved, or y'all have any stroke when it comes to them?
So the question was, y'all have had a number of speakers over the last month or so related to DCFS and other types of programs that relate to children and how we work with them. So as an organization, the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, we're really a policy organization. We don't do a whole lot of programmatic work. But what we do is we really lean into data and research and how that impacts the systems as a whole. And so we work very closely with LDH, the Department of Health, the Department of Education, as well as DCFS, Economic Development and Workforce, about how do we make sure that we have a system of early childhood that really creates a net that works for families so that we can ensure that families are in the workforce and able to take care of their young children.
With a lot of the deaths and stuff, and a lot of people criticize, some of them are breaking the law. Do y'all become a witness, or y'all go to the trials or whatever that happens, and speak on behalf of y'all organization?
So the question was related to DCFS and the deaths and those types of things that we've seen throughout our state, and if we as an organization go to testify, and we don't, not in that area. There are other wonderful organizations that really lend into the Department of Children and Family Services and foster care system and abuse and neglect. We're there if they need a source of data, but there are other organizations that are more apt to do that.
One more question. How could just individual citizens, how can they help?
Sure. So the question was, how do individual citizens help us as an organization? And I would say always to become involved and know who your locally elected officials are. Because fundamentally, we elect our officials, and they need to hear from us what is important. And what we're hearing and what we know from polling that we've done at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children is that access to child care and access to early childhood support systems that support families are critically important to families in our state. Yes, ma'am.
I wondered how Louisiana stands against other southern states. That's question number one.
In what?
Oh, in the early childhood,
Okay.
of course. And my second question is, are there any states that are working with business and industry, to promote business and industry, actually putting together their own early childhood programs on site.
Sure. So the question was, where does Louisiana fare with southern states related to early childhood? Particularly, I'm going to say early care and education. And then the second piece was, are there any other states that are really leaning into their business community to help elevate the importance of early care and education, and maybe possibly servicing, having child care centers on their businesses? So the first question related to how do we stand in Louisiana? I will say that we are in the top 20 in the country related to our accountability for early care and education. What does that mean? That means that for every dollar that we spend in public, so whether it's child care assistance, Head Start, a 4-year-old program, early Head Start, that if you're spending public dollars on that, they're part of an accountability system that's in the top 20 in the country. So we're looking at teacher-child interactions, we're looking at health and safety, looking at credentialing for our early care and education teachers. They're not babysitters, they are educators and brain architects. And we're looking at the overall environment of the classroom. The other piece to your question is what others, like who else is kind of standing out with getting business and industry involved? And I would say Louisiana is a standout in the country with how we're getting business and industry involved. We were the first state in the country to put the economic case together about what child care is costing us as a state. We did the original study in 2017 with LSU, and then we subsequently updated that study in 2021 with the Blanco Center at the University of Louisiana Lafayette. So we've been able to name what the economic costs are. What we've also been able to do is we've been able to create a business roundtable in our state with C-suite level business leaders who really are about increased investment in early care and education. And if you look from 5 years ago, we went from 0 state dollars to $87.7 million in our state budget. That's a testament to coalition of our business leaders, but also coalition of our Ready Louisiana Coalition that has business leaders, it has our economic development agencies, it has United Ways, it has also our Chamber of Commerce, it has child care providers, because oftentimes our child care providers are having things done to them instead of with them, and they're problem solvers, and that's really helped us think about how we lead in our state. The other thing that we've done in Louisiana is we've been able to create a workforce calculator for businesses to see what they're potentially losing due to childcare breakdowns. And that has been really helpful. So Energy actually helped us launch that back in 22. And they're losing approximately $14 million annually due to childcare breakdowns. And Gulf Coast Bank also helped us launch that, and they're losing about $600,000 annually due to childcare breakdowns. So having the tools in place are really meaningful. Having our state chamber, the lobby, step up and say this is critically important, and they put it in their LA 23 strategic plan, massive. Committee of 100 stepping up, even last week to say this $24.3 million cut that the House put into the budget, it needs to be restored because this is an economic issue. But the other part of your question is what other states are kind of getting it right to providing child care on site of their businesses? Nobody has quite figured that out. But there are innovations going on across the state and across the country of businesses partnering with local child care providers. Because at the end of the day, our child care providers are small businesses too. And they want to grow the capacity and they want to grow their businesses, but oftentimes they don't have the capital. But when they partner with business and industry, they're able, in some places, to be able to expand the number of children that they're able to serve and increase the capacity of who they serve and increase the infrastructure of the number of children that they're serving as well. And so we're looking at that continually at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children as well with our partners to say, like, what are some new innovations that we can think about in our state to increase the capacity of child care providers? Yes, sir.
With regard to your overall mission and what you stand for, in the current legislative session right now, are there any bills at all that you and your organization are particularly fond of, or any that you wish don't get through?
So the question was, in this legislative session, is there a bill or bills that we're particularly fond of at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, or we're not fond of? I'll say we're watching closely, obviously, House Bill 1 with the state's budget. There is also a bill in the Senate Bill 433 by Senator Rick Edmonds of our area, who is related to an early childhood data dashboard bill that we are particularly fond of. And the reason we're fond of it is to make sure that to have continuous system improvement, that we have data that we can trust and we know. And the Department of Education does a really wonderful job of collecting information, but it's kind of all over the website. This data dashboard would allow us to get a snapshot at any given time, at least once a quarter, of live data of the data system, of the children that are in the system, out of the system, on the wait list, how are teacher credentialing, and those types of things. So we're excited about that because that really helps to think us how we might propel our system to keep going and serving more and more children.
When you talk about budget, does that come from?
So the data dashboard bill I just mentioned, Senate Bill 433, that money would come out of the Child Care Development Block Grant.
Talk about the cut that came over from the House and prospects for restoration at this point.
Sure. So the question was to really talk about the cut of the $24.3 million from the House and the possible restoration once it gets to the Senate side. I will say we are increasingly hopeful now that the budget is on the Senate side and that the Revenue Estimating Committee has realized more revenue for our state, both in this current fiscal year and in the upcoming fiscal year, that we will hopefully get that $24.3 million restored. I also want to reiterate, if it's not, that's 2,000 children that will lose access to quality early care and education. We literally can't afford it. Our parents can't either. Yes, sir.
Question on that legislation. What about freedom of choice education?
So the question was about freedom of choice, and I would say in early care and education, it's always a parent's choice because we have the Child Care Assistance Program that virtually operates as a voucher, and we also have contracted seats models that allows family to help decide where they want their child to go. But for public dollars to go after a child, the child care center has to be in the accountability system, which is a good thing.
Say again?
For public dollars to follow a child of a parent's choice, the choice has to be within a system that's part of the accountability system. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Good. My name's Jerry. I'm sure you know Eddie.
Our speaker next week is Barry Irwin from Cable. So please come back.
Not too good.